All right. Good afternoon. Hi, students and parents and teachers and anyone else who might be tuning in. Welcome to week 6 with the Are You Ready? Be Entrepreneurial. And today our topic is prototyping your solution. So we've gone through making sure that we have an entrepreneurial mindset. We've gone through growth mindset. Jeffrey has been an amazing volunteer and has taken us through the different sessions. And today we will be wrapping everything up and talking about how you prototype your solution. And I would like to welcome both of our partners today. Leslie is with Junior Achievement, and then she will introduce our volunteer. So Leslie, thank you so much for being here.
Great. Hi, everybody. I am Leslie Mufali with Junior Achievement of Southwest Florida. What we try to do is help take what you learn in school and apply it to the real world, to the working world. And so we teach financial literacy, work readiness, career readiness, and entrepreneurship. And today I am very happy to introduce Jeffrey Eakin. He is one of our Junior Achievement volunteers, and he's devoted his career to providing businesses, nonprofits, and governments with financing for growth. This includes financing for healthcare institutions, airports, and industrial development projects. He was the co-founder of 3 equipment franchising companies, and with a focus on servicing the needs of medical equipment providers. Jeffrey has also taught finance and entrepreneurship at liberal arts colleges and became the school's director of Center for Entrepreneurship. So Jeffrey, thank you so much for taking your time to come here and talk with us today. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So students, parents, and teachers, welcome to actually our last session of the, if you will, coursework. Next week, we'll have a panel of entrepreneurs answering some questions about where they applied their entrepreneurial skills and pass on some tips for you as budding entrepreneurs. So up till now, yeah, we've gone through the process of empathizing with our customer and all the people in our group of people that we're working with. We've defined the problem. We've ideated, we've brainstormed possible solutions. We've settled on one that we're going to try and actually, if you will, produce by prototyping it and testing it. So in our problem that we've addressed, it's the volleyball team needing to raise money to go to a tournament. The parents have put up what they can. They're a couple $1,000s short. The solution has been defined as selling T-shirts to family members, to team members, and to the general community. And now we've got to make a solution statement. So when you take your problem statement, which was the Naples volleyball team had been invited to a tournament in Orlando, they're short of money. How do we raise that? That's our problem statement. I went ahead and just said, because I think it's fairly obvious, what a solution statement is. And what I found is helpful to have these problem and solution statements posted so that we're constantly reminded of what the fundamental problem is. Where is the pain and who is the customer? And then what our solution is, so that we're constantly reminded about what we think the solution is at this point in time. And if we need to modify that, modify it. So the team will design, have produced, and sell, quote, tournament T-shirts to classmates, parents, and local citizens to raise the $2,000. That's pretty straightforward. You'll notice I said have produced. They're not going to actually make the T-shirts themselves. They're going to have them produced by something else. That's a common technique, and we're going to talk about that even at the prototypes. Now, at this stage, if they were truly prototyping this, yeah, they'd probably make their own T-shirts, although you'd have to do it with magic markers and it wouldn't look as good. There's not really time to do this, and what they'll find when they actually go to a producer is that he will quickly take their crude design, produce it in real time and actually make them a shirt. So let's move ahead. So prototyping step in design. The idea is that you want to do this cheap in something that's readily available and to do it to scale if you can, meaning you don't have to do it full size. If it happens to be you're deciding to invent a something that's large, completely a completely sanitizable kitchen. It sanitizes itself. It has spares. You don't have to do the whole thing. You have to have a little model. So you'd probably buy a little toy kitchen and show how you do it on that. It can be paper. It can be straws, wires. Legos are a wonderful device to make prototypes, but often it's drawing. It's really the let's pretend stage of the design process is let's pretend that this is real, actually a real. It's not likely that you're going to actually make a real one at the prototype stage. In our case, it's probably a written statement. It's probably a written statement of the process. So it's going to describe the prototype steps. So when you're done with this, excuse me, after completing this learning talk, you'll be able to describe the prototype step in the design thinking problem solving model and construct a prototype based on the problem statement and a brainstormed solution to the problem. And as I said, a solution statement. So the three key verbs here in our problem solution are design, have produced, and sell. And actually, as I was going over this just moments ago, I realized that sell also had to include distribute. You got to get the shirt to the person who bought it, and you have to collect the money. These three define what needs to be done. And in most team efforts, what you'll find is it's time to divide and conquer. These are not three key verbs and steps that everyone will participate in. It's more likely you'll divide the team into maybe three equal or maybe three unequal teams, with each one taking on one of the three key verbs. This is just a reminder where we are. We were at the empathize, define, ideate. Now we're at prototype stage. Under each verb, what needs to be, you need to make a list of what needs to be done underneath each one of those. Who could assist you? Well, in this case, the t-shirt vendor could. And what I found interesting is I just Googled charity based on t-shirt sales. You are blessed with this huge amount of research, which you have at your fingertips by just Googling that, and all kinds of suggestions. Pick one that you want, but they're very helpful in helping you with that design prototype, design, actually make one, have it produced for you, and then the selling process. So a team leader for each one of those, and that team leader's principal job is to develop their own statement of work. The design team will fill in the blanks, develop a specific tournament design for the front, back, and or shoulders, and get it to the have produced, we'll pass it on to the have produced by someone else team by Friday at noon. And then to keep your team on track so they don't wander off and they stay on task. A simple model or example. So what a prototype is a simple model or example of an idea that shows how it functions or what it intends. So you may draw a t-shirt and put on your tournament 2023, Orlando, Florida. No doubt the artist at the t-shirt manufacturer will have some ideas. They probably have some stock, meaning they've already produced artwork where they can go and fill in names. If you've decided to go with sponsors, they will have their own artwork. Ace Hardware will have theirs. Publix will have theirs. Trader Joe's has theirs. They have the colors that they want, and they can provide that. All that team really needs to do is get that artwork to the producer. In this, the plan that you write out what people will do, what each one of those three teams will do, becomes your prototype. You really don't have time to try out t-shirts, different colors, etc. That's a decision that one of those teams is going to make, and all you ask of the others is please please respect our decision, and we won't stick our nose in your business about who's going to produce it, etc. I'll throw you an idea. I know I've done this before. I'll throw an idea of somebody who I like working with, but it's your decision. So there really is no prototype. You could create, I thought about this as I was doing this, you could create a prototype design and use that design to sell t-shirts. So initially, I thought of this as a sequential event where it was design, find a producer, get them to produce the t-shirts, and then go out and sell the actual t-shirts. Way to speed up that process and get a better idea of how many you're actually going to need, because that's a key decision, is to take the design that you have in a picture, in a photograph, and you can put it on your phone, send out those salespeople and say, this is a t-shirt, they're $35 a piece, help the team out, get effectively orders, and maybe get paid, maybe not, that's a decision somebody has to make, and get paid and get the sizes so that you know how many smalls, how many mediums, how many larges, how many extra larges. Because what you want to do in the end is order 100 or 150 or 200 t-shirts and end up with none. You don't want a handful of smalls and a handful of extra larges, because what do you do with them? Well, you're going to give them away. Give them away, not sell them. You can also use that early design with the media to promote it, to go to the local news stations, TV stations, and show them how you're using the JA idea design thinking model to actually do the work for this. If one of the three, and I watch them regularly, if one of the three don't pick that up as a huge human interest story, I would really be surprised. So now we go to the other ones. How does the team that is going to decide on the producer decide on it? Well, it seems to me that we go back to our priorities. We talked about priorities of price, selling, or cost, producing, and how long it's going to take them to do it. So getting a commitment from somebody to say, once you give me the final design, I will have them produced in 3 days. Whoa, our first batch in 3 days. That's terrific. And it's going to cost you, $13.72 all in, delivered to somebody's house. Now that's fine. How do you get them to the sellers, or how do the sellers pick them up? That's a sellers team. And for the sellers, how are you going to do that? Are you going to walk the streets along the shopping malls wearing a t-shirt and having a bunch of them under your arm? Probably the only thing you need to do there is to make sure that the landlord, the person who owns the building, says it's okay. Parking yourself in front of Publix, huge traffic area, but you got to check with them before you do it. And then the question of, how do you actually get paid? Because I think I said in one of our earlier sessions, I'm going to guess that more than 50% of retail transactions today take place digitally, electronically. It's either a credit card or a debit card or one of these other systems. I don't use any other systems, so I'm not familiar with them, but you know what I'm talking about. Sliding a card through the computer. So that means if you have one team doing it at one mall, you can have that person, you can walk together and everyone can use the one device. If you go to different malls and different devices, so that's what I'm suggesting is that's your prototype. It's how are we going to do this, and thinking then of all of the I like to call them speed bumps. They are not obstacles, because obstacles stop you from doing something. These are merely speed bumps. It makes you slow down and think about, well, wait a minute. How are we going to pay for this? If we only have one device, that means we all need to be together. Okay, that means we all need to be together. Now, next problem. Which one are we going to attack first? So the design have to produce has a limited number of steps, and the sell, deliver, collect, and multiply probably has the most steps of anything. How are you actually going to pull that off? So I'm giving you some ideas, but I'm not trying not to solve all of the problems. That's what the challenge is in the solving of the problems. So the main goal of a prototype is to validate the idea you've come up with customers, with customers, either in a sample or with actual customers, and to give you feedback you can use to adjust your idea. In this case, it wouldn't be, well, I wish it was in red. Well, I'm sorry, it's not going to be in red. It's going to be in white. Or maybe it is in red because that's your school color and they say, well, I would rather have it in white. I'm sorry, it's only red. You have the opportunity to discover what you have forgotten because no one can think of all of the things that can possibly go right or which are good ideas or which are good changes to the idea, or all the things that can possibly go wrong. It's not if you run into obstacles, or speed bumps, it's whether you do and when you do and what you do about them. So I sort of had these in three columns where the design team is designing and their challenge is time. They need to do this fairly quickly. They need to pass it on to the producer side of it, where the producer side has spent those 3 days thinking about what's it going to cost us, what sizes we want, how much time we need, how it's going to be delivered, and how we're going to distribute it to the sell team. And the sell team is really focused on what price, what sizes, how do we promote this away from the selling of it? How do we promote it on social media? How do we collect the funds? And how do we actually distribute the t-shirts? So each one of them, each column, each team, each silo has its own tasks, and they pass information, positive and negative, meaning we're getting a lot of feedback. Everybody does want it red. They really don't want it white. Have we got time to change that? And they also pass on the positive stuff. Hey, I'm getting huge orders. I don't think we're at 100. I think we're at 150 easy. And we got to start thinking about 200. So they're passing information back and forth. One person, the team captain of each team, communicates with the other team, not all the team members calling back and forth, because quite honestly, it gets confusing. It's like that game that you may play at your holidays. On my way to grandmother's house, I saw, and then you fill in the blank and you whisper it to the person directly to your left, and they whisper what they perceive to be the same thing to the person to their left, and go all the way around the table of 12. And then the last person says, I thought about my grandmother on her birthday, and I decided to get her a present. It has nothing to do with what you said initially, but each person interprets along the way. So that's the goal, is to validate the idea, find out what you can about the good things and the bad things. The prototype is a quick creation or rough draft. It is a clear demonstration of the idea so that you can get it. So I get that. I get what you're trying to do. It is necessary to validate the approach. A prototype is not a finished product, either in size, performance, certainly what it costs. It's going to cost you a lot more to produce the prototype than it would if you were a real prototype, and than it would if you were actually producing the product in quantity. It is difficult to explain or understand its purpose, and it is not perfect the first time. So it's not difficult to explain or understand. I get it. I get what you're trying to do. So time is your enemy in the volleyball program, seems to me. No time to do one shirt and use it to sell all of the others. That's one problem. And you setup is there is a setup fee from the producer. They will charge you to actually transfer your design to their methodology, their equipment. There's a setup fee for that. And my experiences in most t-shirt operations is it's $200 or $250. So it's not to be taken lightly. Sometimes you can get a producer, if you flat out don't have the money, he'll say, fine, I'm just going to add this on to each t-shirt. And he's going to make an assumption. And he's going to say, how many t-shirts you want? You're going to say, I think I want 100. So he's going to take that 250 divided by the 100, add 250. So the t-shirts are not $13, they're $15. But remember, if you then order 200 shirts, the same 250 is going to be added to the last shirts. It's not unfair of him. It's disclosed up front. That's what they're going to do. So the setup fee is one thing that you really need to keep in mind because you can't afford to make changes. And besides it, remember this: the person who is buying this T-shirt is not buying this for quality clothing. They're probably buying it as a workout T-shirt, and they're less concerned about what is on it. Because remember, the tournament will be over by the time they put it on. They're buying it for community support. They're buying it to tell the world, I supported the volleyball team when they went to the tournament. And that'll be a conversation piece, or it may not be. But they're not buying this for quality clothing. They're buying this for community support. And in fact, we talked about this earlier. They're overpaying. They're overpaying for the community support. So as we said, there's text description as simple as possible. Some of it is words. Some of it can be, if you will, cartoons, little stick figures that depict what people are doing. And they're literally a little stick figure of a person after the team has gone through their ideation about what the shirt should look like. It shows the team captain in the cartoon sequence handing off the design to the have it produced team and also to the selling team to sell. So that's, again, one way of doing it. The point here is to understand what the process is and what has to be done. It is not to develop the best prototype in the world. It's like writing a business plan, which is a complete description of your product idea, including financials. That's not the point. The point is to do that to make sure you are aware of all the things that you've forgotten to do. And you can also do modeling. So modeling means things like using your computer. There are techniques on the software available on your computer, often for free, to actually do modeling. I think I mentioned straws. You use straws to depict the framework and the size, wire diagrams. You can also do or you can use paper. Just draw what you think is going to happen on your phone when a certain game comes up. And maybe there are some descriptive words by the side, but it must be your prototype must be shareable. It must be something that you can hand someone or hold and show someone that they get an understanding of what you're trying to do. Next one. We're going to skip that one. Model application design. Yeah, so let's play this one. I like this one. So they only say keyboard. You didn't even have to show the keyboard. Just show what people are doing. Create the account. Show what the drop downs would be. And if you're really talented, you could literally do what they're doing by sliding a cutout of a phone screen over these various and let people see exactly what you're doing. The question is, do they get it? So I like that. Make sure you can get back to that sometime because um, what's important in this is that the person who's doing the testing is your customer. So the finger there would have been the person testing it, if at all possible, because the other team members should not be watching the demonstration. The other team members should be watching the customer. When do they hesitate? When do they immediately go there and know what to do? Watch their behavior. If you recall early on, we talked about the Procter and Gamble uh, management trainees, marketing trainees, and what their job is when they're actually in the store stocking shelves. It isn't that stocking shelves is so important. It's that they're there when they watch the customer the last 15 inches between standing in the aisle and putting their hand out and picking Procter and Gamble as opposed to somebody else's brand. So watch the hand, eye, and body movement. Next, we're going to talk about a little bit of prototyping ideas. So choose a scenario, how you're going to actually prototype it, decide which prototype technique to use. These are probably group decisions, all people involved in it, and you're going to be going down the same ideation process that you did with the idea itself. Quickly jot down notes about a prototype you would design and could and would design for the idea. One role of the leader is to keep everyone on track and not let them go. And again, set time limits. Do not enter when you're actually doing the prototype. Okay, so excuse me, we'll take 20 minutes. No, we're not going to take 20 minutes, but it should take about 20 minutes for your team to decide on a prototype they're actually going to use. In the case of our t-shirts, I think drawing people is a really important one. It also is helpful, particularly for the selling people, because they'll get a chance to see how their interaction actually works and to show the handoffs and maybe even the time. How long should it take the design team to come up with a design, or how much time they're allowed before they need to move on and hand that design over to the team. I can't stress enough the idea of Googling prototyping, because there is a massive amount of information available. I did, and one of the things that I mentioned briefly earlier is, in addition to companies that will actually make your product, there are companies that will actually prototype your product. It probably should be a relatively expensive product that is going to sell a lot of units before you go to a prototyping company, because they often do two things. One, they charge you an upfront fee, and they also very often, if it does have that potential of reasonably high price and selling a lot of them, is that they will take an interest in the product itself, in the company itself. That's how Mr. Coffee, the original Mr. Coffee maker, was prototyped. Is that somebody had the idea, they drew it up, they took it to a company that did only prototypes, and specifically consumer prototypes. They also were the company that did the design for the first electric toothbrush, whose inspiration was an electric popsicle. And the person said, if you can make an electric popsicle and sell it for, $1, then why couldn't you take that same technology and do an electric toothbrush before there were electric toothbrushes? They took the same engineering technology. So Google it, and I want to go. So there are what are called 5 common low fidelity, meaning relatively easy. We talked about some of them: sketches, making a paper model or cardboard model or plastic sheet model, Legos, digital, meaning picking up a program online where you can actually design it. And most of them, what you want is a design software that will do 3-dimensional, because most of the products that we have or ideas we have are 3-dimensional. Or you can do what is called the Wizard of Oz. This one I'd never heard about, and I was fascinated by it. So let's pretend that your software that you're going to apply, or it's an application for a phone, which will tell you, which will listen to this question. You know where I am right now. What are the restaurants that are within walking distance? And you expect this not to be, it's going to be a map, and it's also going to be a voice over. And so what you do is you have your phone, and you say to your phone, you've already called somebody on your phone. Phone, I'm at such and such an address. What are the 5 restaurants within walking distance of where I am right now? And your friend, or off to the side, says, this is your friend Chippy. The 3 restaurants are 200 yards to your north is Chipotle, and 100 yards to your south is First Watch, and across the street and around the corner, about a 3-minute walk, is McDonald's. So if you haven't watched The Wizard of Oz, it's about a wizard who speaks and you can't see him. So the idea of The Wizard of Oz is that you have someone speaking to you or showing you on your computer something which is not real. It's fake. Now, understand that can be misused, and I'll go a little off track since I have a little time. There was a person who developed a business plan to do all blood tests with 1 drop of blood instead of having to draw blood in vials. And she was quite successful in raising huge amounts of money, and showed people her success by taking a blood sample from me, a small blood sample, putting it into the machine, and showing that it could do 31 tests in the machine. The trouble was, it was a Wizard of Oz. The machine was not actually doing blood tests. The machine was actually just spitting out a predetermined list of qualities or qualities or test results of blood, but they weren't of my blood, and they couldn't have possibly been done with 1 drop of blood. So they're doing a Wizard of Oz today, and this was widely publicized. She just is getting ready to be sent to prison for misleading investors. Wizard of Oz techniques right now have a bad name, and at the prototype stage, it's fine. But when it gets to the final stage, it's not fine. So those are the 5 sort of what are called low fidelity: sketches, paper, Lego, digital, and Wizard of Oz. Let me make sure I'm still on track here. Yeah, we got that. So we did Wizard of Oz. So prototyping, and then move on here. It's stuck on here. What did I do before? We just went out of this and went back in. Can you control it, Kelly? Kelly, can you control it?
Yep. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, no, yeah, do the next slide if you can. Mine won't. Oh, no, there it goes. So this is where we'd otherwise take 20 minutes to prototype yours, but we're going to move on. So prototyping, this is a wrap up of this. Prototyping is finding a fast, inexpensive way to get your product idea across and in front of potential users is the best method for getting feedback quickly. Number one, do they like it? Do they think the idea is viable? And get some idea of the economics. That's one thing that we haven't talked about. Maybe if I have a minute, I'll talk about it in the end. It's a critical stage of developing a product is the economics of it. What does it cost you to produce it? What can you likely sell it for? And is there enough money left over to pay for all of the fixed expenses of doing it? So the one thing that is probably appropriate at this time that's not part of the lesson plan is three, maybe it's more than three important words: patents, copyrights, and trademarks. Those three areas of the law, and I am not a lawyer, are important for new ideas to protect, first of all, to protect you and your idea from someone else taking the idea and using it. You do all the work, you put out your prototype, maybe you end up putting out your product, and then somebody takes that idea and reproduces it, and you don't get the benefit of all your hard work. Let's take the first one. Let's take the first one as trademarks. So a trademark is a word, phrase, or design, and this is from the U.S. Patent Office. A word, phrase, design, or a combination that identifies your goods or services, distinguishes them from the goods or services of others, and indicates the source of your goods or services. So a well-known trademark would be the McDonald's arches. As soon as you see, if you just saw the arches, you would immediately know that it was McDonald's. If you look closely at any literature, and maybe even on the arches themselves, you will see a very small circle with the either the initial R, registered trademark, or TM, trademark. And when you think about businesses and their quote logos, you immediately know who they are, and it sends to you a message about what your expectations are. So if you don't like McDonald's, it's a negative one. If you happen to like Burger King and you see their Burger King trademark, it's important to you on a positive way. So trademarks are controlled by the federal government. Companies, if you start a company, it's controlled by the state of Florida. That's one of those division of powers issues go all the way back to the founding of this country. Somebody got trademarks, copyrights, and patents, and somebody got organizing companies. A copyright is an artistic, literary, or intellectually created work such as novels, music, movies, software code, the actual code, photographs, and paintings that are original and exist in a tangible medium such as paper, canvas, film, or digital format. They're different. So if you painted a picture of the Naples Pier and you put in a small circle in the corner, or just signed it, just signed your name. But I would also put a small circle with a C in it and a small date. That's copyright protection. That's yours. Now, it doesn't mean somebody else can't paint a picture of the Naples Pier. They can't take your painting and reproduce it on gift cards, stationery, 8.5 by 11, and sell them at the Cambry, whatever the park is, Cambria Park art show. They can't take it. They can't take your words that you write in a child's book. Now, you read a story about a child who lost a puppy and then found it. that's a regular story. You can't copyright the concept of the story, but you can copyright the words in the book. And then the last one is a patent. Patents are technical inventions such as chemical compositions like pharmaceutical drugs, mechanical processes like complex machinery, or machine designs that are new, unique, and usable. All of those trademarks and copyrights are relatively inexpensive. They're done at the Federal Trade Commission, and you can get all the information you need. That copyrights are relatively expensive because to be eligible for a patent, it must be new and useful as a machine process, manufactured object, or material that is not already patented. It must be novel, meaning it's not a copy of somebody else's, and it must be non-obvious. So non-obvious means somebody patented AstroTurf, plastic grass, okay, and it has certain characteristics of durability and drainage and all the other kind of stuff, and it happens to be green. You can't file a patent on exactly the same product in a color blue because it's obvious that it's just you changed a minor thing. You haven't changed, or you made it an inch, and it regularly now comes in 5/8 of an inch, and you make it in 11/16 of an inch. It's obvious. You can't do that. It must be, and it must be disclosed. And the challenge is in a patent, you have to disclose the idea. So this happens to be an idea for, try and show it up here, for, that doesn't show up. It's for magnetic wallpaper for your school locker. So if your school locker is boring, some young woman thought it would be really cool to have wallpaper. She realized that she couldn't put it up permanently. School wouldn't let her. So she said, well, how could I do it temporarily? Well, it's a metal locker. So she said, why don't I make the back of it magnetic? And it comes in 3 sections for the side and for the door. In 3 sections, it's magnetic. Her bright idea, and she was a middle schooler when she thought about this, paid for her college education. She sold the idea to Walmart, and you can probably go to Walmart and actually buy it today. So those are the 3 principal ways to protect your property. It would be, if you think there's any possibility that your idea might already be out there, Google it. You don't have to go to an attorney to find that out. You can Google it. If you do find something that is similar, and it has either the words patent, and it would have a number next to it, probably a today 12-digit number attached to it, the patent number, or it may say patent pending. From the time that you disclose your idea to the general public, you have 12 months to patent it, to file for. So you have to let the world know. The advantage of patents is that it's your idea for the next usually 17 years. If it is accepted, but after 17 years, you have to give it up. So let's move on to, I'm trying to, can you move it forward? I want to move it to testing. It's tough to test. I'll just move ahead with this with it, but you can't get it to move on. It's tough to test something like a t-shirt, but you must be done. It's a role playing. It will bring out all the things that you forgot to do. So the test design, the test step is a trial run. It makes the pre-sales critical to do just the right design and then sell using social media, local TV and advertising. So after completing this learning topic, you will be able to describe the test step in the design thinking problem solving model, develop a testing plan for a given product and target audience. Let's move on to the next one. So I just won't move forward. So the test step is what it's important in the test step is deciding what it is that you want to learn from the test step. And usually does the customer get it? Do they understand what you're trying to do? Do they like the idea? And do they like the idea enough to part with money to get it? What are their expectations? Does my process work efficiently, meaning it's cost efficient? And is it effective? Those are two different concepts of efficiency and effectiveness. Does it actually do the job? Does the customer like it? Is it worth the price? Will they return if it's a product that they would otherwise return and buy again? It's food product. Will they return and buy it again? And will they recommend it to their friends? Testing is where you really find out what you have missed, misjudged, forgotten about. And you must either push on at that point in time or redesign based on the facts that you get and the cost to do it. So one way to do this is to ask people's opinion. And the question in the opinion is, they're called man on the street interviews, is when you get the questions, how important is the answer? So let's just say that I use a survey. I survey my customers in my restaurant where I'm going to test a new lunch format. I'm going to try something different. It doesn't even matter what it is, but I'm going to test it. And so who's the logical person to test? People in the restaurant. That's one group. The other group is people that aren't in the restaurant. They're equally important. So one of the things to remember when you're doing your testing is to value your customer or evaluate your customer. Meaning, a person is sitting in front of you and they just ordered lunch. How often does that person come into your restaurant? They come in, oh, this is my first time here. I'm passing through. I'll probably never be back again. Their opinion really doesn't matter. The opinion that matters is the person that comes in once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. So one of your questions is, how often do you eat here? How satisfied are you with my existing format? And what would you think if I changed the format to XYZ? Would you stop coming? Would you come more often? Or would you come less often? So the testing stage is more than just, do you like it and will you return? It's what's the quality of the person answering the questions. If it's I'm going through this right now at the condominium I live in. It's a parking question. Well, one of the questions is, how long do you live in the condominium during the year? Do you live here 12 months out of the year, or do you live here 1 month out of the year? Well, if you're here for 1 month out of the year, your opinion doesn't really matter because it matters more to the people who are here for 6, 12, 18 months. So then you're ready to do your test. Do the same exercise in your testing as you did with the whole process. Empathize with your customer, define what you're trying to find out, ideate how you find that out, prototype the test, and then actually test the test. This could be before or after, because you'd be doing yourselves a favor if you documented all of this, didn't just have it in your heads, documented it all, because wouldn't it be nice if next year's team started out with defining and ideating and so now what I got a couple of minutes here. One of the reasons why companies trademark and protect and copyright and protect their name is that their name has meaning. When you, as I said, when you see the golden arches, you have an immediate reaction to the product name. And if it was on something different, like breakfast now you can get breakfast there, you'd have an impression that they either are probably going to like it or you're probably not going to like it. So what I have here are some products where the companies thought it would be valuable to broaden people's affiliation with a particular product. And the reason that that's important to somebody at that company, and these companies went through the same process of quote empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. They went through the same process. The reason that people want to extend is that a brand manager in a company is not getting paid a lot of money to have the brand just plow along, even if you have 60% market share. So to take, I'll use the toothpaste business. The toothpaste business is pretty stable. You only sell so much toothpaste in the world. People don't decide to go out and buy toothpaste that unless they brush their teeth regularly. They don't suddenly say, well, it's on sale. I think I'll buy toothpaste this month. And brand loyalty is very high in toothpaste. People either like it, a brand, or they don't like it. And when they go shopping, they buy the same brands. And there are probably, I don't know, there are probably a dozen brands. And Colgate Palmolive probably is one of the larger ones. So someone at Colgate, doesn't matter when, but it was 1982, decided that they would extend the brand to, trying to get it to show. Not showing very well. Maybe it's because it's wobbling. Let me try this. There. That did it. Colgate beef lasagna. Oh, excuse me? What does beef lasagna have to do with toothpaste? That was one of them. Maybe I'll just have to read these. I have pictures of these. Yeah, of course, this thing lasted a couple of months and it was a total bust. But why in the world would anyone connect the brand name Colgate, either toothpaste or soap? They also make soap. The next one was colored ketchup. Ketchup is red, right? It's made out of tomatoes. Somebody at, I'm not sure what the company was, decided, I think it was Heinz. Heinz decided, well-known brand, people are used to buying red ketchup, decided that to make it in purple, green, and blue. That didn't last. Cheetos, everyone's had Cheetos, really cheesy flavored. Cheetos lip balm. That's another one that people thought about this. So Coca-Cola has been making the same product for decades, if not centuries. Interestingly enough, Coca-Cola is not it's trademarked, and their slogans are copyrighted, but the formula for Coca-Cola is not patented. It's not patented. It's not protected. If somebody finds it out, they can go out and make as much Coca-Cola because it's not protected. And it would only been protected for a short period of time. It is a trade secret. There are only a limited number of people who know the Coke formula in its entirety. There are probably a bunch of people, greater number of people who know it in part, but no one knows the whole formula, but a limited number of people. Coke decided to introduce New Coke in 1985. This was a big year for trading. Why would you do that? And it lasted months. People just couldn't stand it because, like the toothpaste market, the cola market between Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, RC Cola, maybe Dr. Pepper a little bit, is stable. I mean, but the only way a brand manager is going to raise Coke's sales significantly is by trying something new. That one. And then the last one I have is, if you're familiar with Jimmy Dean sausages, Jimmy Dean sausage on a stick, surrounded by pancake mix that is chocolate chip. So a chocolate chip flavored Jimmy Dean sausage. So that's all I got for the testing part of it. Even though intelligent people went through the same process or another one that is similar to it of defining a problem. In some cases, it sounds like they are defining a problem that didn't exist. The question is, why are people buying your product? They're buying your product because they like it. And you can try a lot of things, but changing the product itself or throwing something new that has your name on it usually doesn't work. In some cases it has, but particularly in the food area, all of the products that I looked at under this, I think I Googled goofy food ideas. So we've been through this process. I hope it's been helpful to you. The part we talked about the general personality traits of entrepreneurs, and then problem solving, how they go through it, defining what the problem is, brainstorming, coming up with some solutions, developing a prototype and testing it. I hope it's been helpful to you. Please join us next Tuesday for the panel of entrepreneurs who'll give you a little bit of background about how these 5 people or 4 people got from where you are right now to where they ended up or are still continuing. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you to everyone who logged in and followed along with us. If you look in the chat, Leslie did post a couple of some examples of Colgate beef lasagna and
Okay, good.
Easy Squirts.
You found them.
So you can see those in the chat. Other than that, we will look forward to seeing everyone next Tuesday, same time, same place, same Zoom link. And next week, since we've now finished all of our curriculum, our final session will be a panel of experts. So we are really looking forward to next week. Please feel free to tune back in, and we will have, I think we've got about 3, 4, 5 different entrepreneurs who will be on the panel for you to ask some questions and for you to hear all about their experience and what they've learned through the process of being entrepreneurs. So thank you for joining us, and thank you to our volunteer, Jeffrey. Thank you so much to Leslie and JA, Southwest Florida. And we hope to see all of you next week on May 9th at 4 o'clock. Same Zoom, and we'll see you then. Have a great week.
Okay, thank you.